How is Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest players in NBA history, somehow now underrated? There's been this trend that I've seen in the past 5 to 10 years where somehow now Kobe Bryant has become barely a top 10 player. And for that, I'm confused because I was always someone that saw Kobe as a top player in NBA history around the top 3. Now let me clarify by saying I hate NBA all-time rankings. I believe that most of the time they're not even really justified. Like if you put, let's say, Bill Russell in today's league, do we know if he's gonna do well? I think he'd still do well. I don't think many things really changed that would affect him. But most people would say Bill Russell didn't have a 3-point jump shot, therefore he'd be useless in today's NBA, which I don't agree with. The point is that I don't feel strong about NBA all-time rankings because they just don't make sense to me as a whole. Especially the GOAT debate. That's gotta be one of the dumbest things of all time. So with that, I say if you don't want to put Kobe in your top 10, okay, but I think it's when we start disrespecting Kobe and saying a bunch of stuff about his career that wasn't even true. Now, the biggest argument I've seen against Kobe is that he is a protege of Michael, therefore he can't be one of the greatest players of all time. And I mean, if you look at Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, when you see them as players, obviously they're very comparable. In fact, I'm sure you've seen those clips where they do similar moves and they look exactly alike. In fact, if we were to get an exact replica of Michael Jordan, I think Kobe Bryant would be the closest thing to it. In fact, I still stand by that to this day. But the problem with that and trying to say that he can't be a good player if he's just copying Jordan is completely ridiculous because every NBA all-time great was inspired by someone. And some people just don't talk about it, so I don't know why Kobe's the only player that we use this aspect of. For example, Michael Jordan was inspired by Dominique Wilkins, and Dominique Wilkins isn't a top 10 player of all time. But because Michael Jordan is a protege of Dominique Wilkins, we can't put him above Dominique? Like, no, that's not how that works. A random example off the top of my head is Tyler Hero, who was inspired by Devin Booker. Can Tyler Hero never be better than Devin Booker at one point in his career? I'm not gonna say that. Even to LeBron James, he idolized Allen Iverson and Michael Jordan, so what, he can't pass either of them? If you ask a lot of people, he's passed Allen Iverson, which he did a very long time ago. So let's not pretend that you can't be better than a player that you were inspired by. I'm not saying he's better than Michael Jordan, but I don't think this completely negates him from being a top player of all time. I just don't. Now, about a couple days ago, before I was about to record this video, another YouTuber made a video about Kobe Bryant talking about one of the topics I wanted to get into. Legend of Winning, a popular NBA YouTuber, made a video where he talks about Kobe Bryant and the whole narrative that he's inefficient. Now, I'm not just gonna rip his entire video and steal all of his points, even though I will touch up on some of them. If you want to watch that full video, I'll put it in the link in the description below. It is a great video that I recommend you guys watch. Now, the only thing I really want to take away from that video is the fact that Kobe Bryant played some of the best defenses in his playoff runs. Again, one of the things I hate about NBA all-time rankings and ranking certain players of certain times is times were different. A lot of people would say nowadays it is so much easier to score in the NBA than it was 20 years ago. And that's just one of the aspects of the game of basketball. The point is, statistically, when you look at it, Kobe Bryant played by far better defenses than LeBron James and even Michael Jordan. Also, I know that I literally just made a point like 20 seconds ago about it being easier to score in the past 20 years, but still. From 2000 to 2013 in the NBA playoffs, Kobe Bryant would play 10 teams with a top 3 defensive rating. And if you want me to go farther, he would play 15 teams with a top 5 defensive rating and 28 teams with a top 10 defensive rating. Meaning that a little over 75% of the time, Kobe Bryant was playing a top 10 defense in the NBA playoffs. This could vary from the first round all the way to the NBA finals. Now, I'm not faulting Michael Jordan or LeBron James for playing, I guess, quote unquote, weaker defenses. When it comes to the playoffs, you play who you're dealt with. It's as simple as that. But what I find so interesting is that when Kobe Bryant was dealt with some interesting cards, he would deliver. Now, there's a reason I said from 2000 to 2013 and not 2000 to like 2016. And that's because the last 3 seasons of Kobe Bryant's career, which I don't even think he made the playoffs for any of them, but also they were some of the worst seasons I've seen from him, which again is probably justified because he was A, either injured, or B, playing with one of the worst teams I've ever seen in NBA history, which will take us to my next point, and that's the fact that Kobe Bryant has the most missed shots in NBA, which a lot of people like to bring up. So now that I think about it, would probably be the reason why a lot of people say he's inefficient, and by the way, statistically, he's a better career average shooter than most, but I completely understand why he's taken so many damn shots. If you look in the late stage of Kobe Bryant's career, he became a very different player. He became someone someone who would take a million shots a game and would sometimes win, but sometimes wouldn't. And I'm not even just referring to the last 3 seasons. There were multiple examples of Kobe Bryant trying to carry a team where he would, by the way, injure himself. I mean, the 2015 Lakers had Jordan fucking Hill. Who the Anyways, the main point I'm trying to get across is in the late stage of Kobe Bryant's career, if you want to say he was inefficient and not as good of a player as he was before, I wouldn't doubt you. However, one of the biggest problems is that people will take this into his entire career, which a lot of sports talk shows have done. For example, Skip Bayless, who said this about Kobe Bryant.
I have a question. What? Should Tim Tebow make $27 million?
Nope, never mind. During the time when Kobe Bryant's career was slowly going downhill, sports shows started to rise up in popularity. And if you don't want to agree on that, I think we can at least agree that arguments and narratives really got pushed around that time. Back in the 90s, I don't think there was that many people trying to say that Jordan was inefficient and he wasn't that clutch. Meanwhile, today, your favorite player is probably being criticized for something that is unjustifiable. And if you're a Kobe Bryant fan, then you fall right into that category as well. Now, this is where things get interesting because about a week ago, I did a poll on my YouTube asking you guys, where did you guys rank Kobe Bryant all time in the NBA? And before I even go back and look at these rankings, someone did ask me where I thought he was, and I said I would save it for the video. Shout out to Daniel. All time, I have Kobe Bryant number 3. I have LeBron James at 2, and I got Michael Jordan at 1. I will note I've been very critical about LeBron James in the past 3 years, and I think it's very interesting that he has passed Kobe in my all-time rankings, but I think longevity is very important. But to be fair, Kobe Bryant had lots of injuries to deal with, so I'm not even gonna really fault him. But yes, I have Kobe in my top 3, and maybe in the next 5 to 10 years that will change, but for the past years that I've been watching basketball, it's always been Kobe in my top 3. I don't know where this narrative got started that Kobe Bryant just started to drop off and he was apparently overrated. That's completely ridiculous. Like I said at the intro of this video, he doesn't need to be in your top 3 like me or even your top 5. But it's when people start saying stuff like, oh, he's inefficient, he's not clutch, he's the most overrated player ever, he has the most missed shots of all time. The problem with a lot of sports fans is that they take narratives and they don't exactly know what they're talking about. Maybe not even always narratives, sometimes they are facts, like Kobe Bryant has the most missed shots in NBA history. There were multiple seasons where Kobe Bryant was the only efficient player on his team, therefore if they wanted to win games, which you know Kobe wants to, he had to take so many shots just to try to win the game. He was also a ball dominant player. Oh, he's a protege of Michael Jordan, so he can't be better than him or even close to him. Well, now Dominique Wilkins is now the fucking GOAT. And with this logic, I'm pretty sure George Mikan is probably somewhere in the top 5 now. If you don't want to rank Kobe high, I can understand that, but to disrespect him and say negative things about his career when they're simply not true is just unjustifiable. Also, side note, by the time this comes out, it's gonna be Kobe Bryant's birthday. I had legit no idea that that was actually his birthday. Like, the timing of it is gonna seem so intentional, but I swear to God it's actually not. If you want to see a video about one of the people that Kobe Bryant mentored in Giannis, then click the video on the screen right here. And as always, Mamba out. Wait, what the f